If you've been anywhere on the internet, and especially Twitter in the past couple of weeks, chances are you've ran into this video of Cam Newton trashing Bills sophomore receiver Keon Coleman and his lack of growth coming into year 2, someone that we've had our fair share of criticism for on this channel. While we didn't mention his appreciation for cookies, I think now with the Bills still performing but struggling against elite defenses, many fans can understand something that we have been repeating since the beginning of last year. The weapons around Josh Allen are simply not meeting the standards that they should. In the words of Cam,
"Big dog, you're supposed to be our number one.
Come on now.
And you're playing like a bum.
Yeah, bet you better catch that ball.
I bet you better start doing your job."
However, as some fans were confused why someone seemingly so removed from the situation was so passionate about the topic in general, those who are aware of one of the most hyped receiver prospects that never was understand Newton's frustration and how this might hit close to home for him. In a draft with Ladd McConkey available the very pick after, it seems that the selection is aging worse and worse for Buffalo. Originally, Coleman was praised for his jump ball ability and strength when it came to contested catches in general, leading the ACC in touchdown grabs with 11. Scouts pre-draft considered him a tough matchup in the red zone and a prototypical X-receiver to join Josh Allen's arsenal and eventually lead it. While Drake London was initially considered a fair comparison, there are uncanny similarities found between Coleman and Kelvin Benjamin, a former Panthers first-round draft pick whose career didn't exactly go as planned. Despite also being a jump ball receiver, one that was known for their red zone potential as a Megatron-level threat on the goal line, both come from Florida State, where Benjamin would play alongside Jameis Winston in a legendary national championship run that would feature a game-winning catch after a fourth-quarter comeback to seal the game against Auburn. Despite being a whopping 6'6" and weighing 240 pounds as a receiver, his 40-yard dash is identical to Keon Coleman's, as both ran a somewhat underwhelming 4.61. With that being said though, it wasn't unexpected. Neither Benjamin nor Coleman were scouted for their quickness or even agility. Beyond that simple fact though, and besides some individual success for Benjamin in his first year and the season after his ACL injury, it seems that the two receivers are now on similar paths in the NFL, with Coleman adding up healthy scratches, inconsistent usage, and a role that Buffalo seems in search of a replacement for. There are a multitude of reasons for this. Even at the time in 2015, the warning signs for the fading archetype of a jump ball receiver were already starting to appear. The question of Benjamin being moved to tight end was always thrown around, but as Cam hyper-focused on him during his rookie campaign, the numbers were very impressive, putting Benjamin in some pretty elite company with 73 receptions for 1,008 yards and 9 touchdowns. However, the year after would start his downfall. In training camp, Benjamin would tear his ACL completely, sitting out the entirety of his sophomore year. Coincidentally, that was the best season of Cam Newton's career, where he would add an MVP to his trophy cabinet. In his return season, despite a pretty insignificant dip in numbers, Benjamin seemed upset with his lack of targets in the Panthers' new offense. He was often guilty of giving up on routes and overall not making the extra effort that you expect from an NFL player of any caliber. Receivers acting like divas is hardly an unfamiliar topic to fans of the NFL. It might as well be as much of a part of football as the helmets and cleats themselves. It seems like with every passing week, we find new interviews and clips of pass catchers arguing for more touches and complaining, often in the form of cryptic social media posts, towards their coaches, coordinators, figures in the organizations, whoever. But in a storyline that seems more akin to something out of Sean Kemp's book, Benjamin's frustration corresponded with growing indifference towards his conditioning and weight, issues that consistently arose throughout his entire career, going as far back as his FSU days. Unfortunately, after this, Benjamin's mother would also pass away. While there has been lots of discussions and rumors about what role that process might have played in his untimely departure, I prefer to leave that story as it is. What would result regardless is a pretty conflictual ending to the relationship between Kelvin and the organization, but especially between him and Cam. Later in an interview with The Athletic, Benjamin would explain that he wasn't happy being drafted by the Carolina Panthers in 2014 and having Cam Newton under center in general. He would go on record and blame Cam for a lot of his struggles in the league, saying that if he had a different quarterback, someone like Eli Manning or Ben Roethlisberger, he would be in a much better situation. Many teammates like Greg Olsen pointed out the hypocrisy with Benjamin's statements, and even more media figures as well as people around the league questioned the merit behind his statements and cited the supportive behavior that Cam had always displayed, especially towards Benjamin. But regardless, he would be traded to Buffalo, and after the same issues continued, his career did not. This leads us to where we are now with Keon Coleman. Despite less time and as a result less development in the league, after a somewhat underwhelming rookie year, many expected Coleman to make a significant jump as the Bills' championship window became all the more open with each passing week. Injuries to Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, it made the AFC wide for the takings. Coleman would struggle outside of week 1, only putting up more than 30 yards twice. This streak would include games like against the Dolphins, where Coleman caught 3 passes for 20 yards, or when he had 2 catches for 17 yards against the Chiefs, almost outdone by his 2-catch 9-yard performance against the Steelers and his 2-catch 16 yards against Cincinnati. Out of his 355 receiving yards, 112 of them would come in week 1. It was a great game, and it gave a lot of Bills fans hope at the time, but I think rewinding for a moment and highlighting one specific play, or the lack thereof, is the perfect summary of Coleman's struggles in the NFL. At the time, the score was still 0-0. This moment was something that gets lost in the highlights and the entire game in general. But a little more than halfway through the first quarter, Coleman motioned out of the backfield and lined up with an advantageous matchup against Marcus Jones, New England's 5'8" corner. With only one high safety, on a slot fade that would surely give a jump ball receiver like him every chance to make a play, Marcus Jones physically overpowered him and batted away the ball, causing a 4th down. A small-scale moment that seems pretty insignificant can answer so many questions. It is the reason that the NFL has transitioned away from the prototypical X-receiver that can really only snag 50-50 balls. Ability aside, Coleman's entire selling point has just not translated to the pro level. I think you could say the same thing about Kelvin Benjamin. Some fans that still believe in Coleman might suggest that much of the criticism levied against him should be directed towards Buffalo's coaching and their misuse of the receiver. But I personally would go even further to say that the coaching staff hiding him like this is all they can do while they have their fingers crossed that for some reason he breaks out. But again, the question remains, why would he? In the modern NFL, receivers must be able to get separation. With offenses built on timing and quarterbacks looking towards their primary targets in an entirely different way, physicality, while important, is not the end-all be-all of past eras. Take Jackson Smith-Njigba, not the biggest or most physical receiver, but there are few that create as much separation as him. Whether it be through an understanding of leverage or simply pacing and footwork, he creates throwing windows before the quarterback even gets the chance to finish their drop. The new brand of receiver doesn't need the route or play call to be inherently correct, because they themselves are capable of making the coverage wrong. There are receivers in the league with similar skill sets to Coleman, but they just completely blow him out of the water because they're better all around. Courtland Sutton in Denver is a physical jump ball receiver, but he makes up for it with efficient route running and a well-equipped skill set when it comes to boxing out defenders and mastery over a relatively simple tree. It's the slants, but also the comebacks and curls that helped bring him to the Pro Bowl this year. Size and physicality amplify already existing skill sets, but the lack of versatility Coleman possesses and his seemingly weak attitude, on top of that, it makes him pretty easy to replace for a Buffalo team that's trying to compete right now. For a very early 2nd round pick, which is almost a late 1st, nobody on the Bills coaching staff wants to see this guy dance pregame while he stacks healthy scratches. Coleman's play is betraying the championship window that Buffalo possesses, and I think Cam knows that. He sees these same issues that he saw with Benjamin. He knows that the lackluster attitude and all the dance moves, it sends a message to coaches and GMs around the league that not only is this player struggling, but it doesn't look like they have the ethic or drive to access their full potential. When Newton looks at Coleman, he gets déjà vu of his old friend and teammate, and he already knows how that story ended. Thanks for watching this video here on DNA Sports. After a long break during finals and exam season, we are so happy to be posting again for you guys. If you enjoyed, make sure to like and subscribe. Do you think Cam's comments were justified? Let us know what you think in the comments, and we'll see you in the next one.